We live in a world where everyone's achievements are on display, constantly shared on social media. Every success, big or small, is announced to the world. But what about those who quietly grind away behind the scenes? What about the people who don't feel the need to broadcast every move they make, but instead focus on the process, knowing the results will eventually speak for themselves? Welcome to 100 Days, 100 Challenges, Day 10. Today, we're diving into something that may seem simple, but can change the entire course of your life: working hard in silence. And trust me, by the end of this video, I'm going to give you the best motivation you've ever heard, so stick around till the end. When you work in silence, you're giving yourself space to grow without distractions, without the need for validation. You don't need to tell everyone what you're up to because you know deep down that the results will show in time. It's not about bragging or proving yourself to anyone. It's about becoming the best version of yourself for you and only you. Imagine this. You're planting a seed. You don't need to shout at the seed every day to grow. You water it, nurture it, and let the soil do its job. The growth happens beneath the surface, unseen, until one day a plant bursts through the soil. Your hard work is just like that seed. It doesn't need to be broadcasted or shown off while it's still developing. You nurture it in silence, let the hard work build momentum, and when it's time, the results will speak louder than any words ever could. Think about it. The most successful people you know probably didn't tell the world every little thing they were doing to get there. They were grinding, failing, learning, and pushing behind the scenes. The world only saw their success when it bloomed. But behind that success were countless hours of work, frustration, and dedication that no one saw. But here's the key. Working hard in silence isn't just about keeping quiet, it's about focusing on what truly matters. When you're constantly telling people what you're doing, you're wasting energy. You're taking away from the grind itself. Every time you stop to share your progress, you're breaking your momentum. But when you keep your head down and just do the work, you're building something real, something that no one can take from you. There's a certain power in not announcing your every move. In fact, the less people know, the better. Because when you finally show up with the results, it's not just a surprise, it's a statement. It's like, while you were talking, I was working. And that's what separates the doers from the talkers. Look, I get it. It's tempting to want to tell people what you're up to get that instant validation or approval. But here's the thing. External validation is fleeting. The real satisfaction comes from knowing that you put in the work, that you stayed committed when no one was watching. That's the kind of pride that stays with you long after the results are visible to others. Now, I want you to reflect on this. How many times have you started something, told everyone about it, but then didn't follow through? Maybe it's a workout routine, a business idea, or a new skill you wanted to learn. By talking about it before even starting, you gave yourself a premature sense of achievement. It felt good to say it, but then the actual work didn't follow. When you're working hard in silence, there's no room for that. You're doing it for you, not for the applause. Here's a little secret that most people overlook. When you work quietly, you minimize the pressure. You're not constantly worrying about what others think or if you're meeting their expectations. Instead, you're focused on your own growth, your own journey. And when you're less distracted by outside noise, you can actually make real progress. The kind of progress that lasts. Remember, success doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow, steady process. And during that process, there will be times when you'll want to give up, when it'll feel like nothing's happening. But that's when you need to trust the process. Keep putting in the work, day after day, even when no one notices, because that's when the magic happens, when you push through the hard times in silence, knowing that one day the results will speak for themselves. And that's what working hard in silence is all about. It's not about hiding, it's about focusing. It's about being relentless in your pursuit of your goals, knowing that you don't need anyone else's permission or validation. The results will be your voice, your proof, your story. As you continue on this journey of working in silence, I want you to think about something important. What is the real purpose behind your efforts? Are you chasing success for the validation of others, or is it something deeper? When you work in silence, it forces you to confront your why. You're no longer performing for the crowd, but for yourself. And that's when the work becomes meaningful. When you're doing it because it aligns with who you want to be, not because you want approval from others. You see, when you remove the external pressure, when you stop seeking praise from others, you begin to realize that success isn't just about the end result. It's about the journey, the struggle, the quiet moments where it's just you and your work. That's where the growth happens. That's where you transform. And here's another powerful truth. When you work hard in silence, you attract the right kind of attention. People will see your results and they'll know it came from dedication, discipline, and focus. You won't need to explain yourself because your work will do the talking. And trust me, that's a much stronger statement than any words you could say. Think about the greats. People like Kobe Bryant, Elon Musk, Serena Williams. They weren't telling the world what they were doing every step of the way. They were in the gym, on the court, in the lab, putting in the hours, making mistakes, learning, evolving. The world only saw their victories, their triumphs, but what went unseen was the quiet grind that made those victories possible. Let me ask you, what would your life look like if you committed to working silently for the next year? No announcements, no need for validation, just pure, unfiltered effort. Imagine the power you would build. Imagine the foundation you would create, and then imagine the surprise on people's faces when they finally see what you've been building all along. That's the power of silence. It's the calm before the storm. The beauty of working in silence is that it creates this deep internal drive. It becomes less about proving something to others and more about proving something to yourself. Can you stay disciplined? Can you keep pushing even when no one is cheering you on? Can you be your own biggest fan, your own source of motivation? That's the true test. And here's where the magic happens. When you stop talking and start doing, you begin to build momentum. And momentum is a force that's hard to stop. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. Small at first, but as it picks up speed, it becomes unstoppable. That's what happens when you work in silence. You gain momentum, and suddenly things start to fall into place. Opportunities appear, breakthroughs happen, and before you know it, your silent grind turns into loud success. But let me remind you, this process requires patience. There will be moments when it feels like nothing is happening, when it feels like your efforts are going unnoticed. And that's okay. It's part of the journey. Just remember, the seed doesn't grow into a tree overnight. It takes time, nurturing, and consistent effort. Keep watering your dreams, keep putting in the work, and trust that the results will come. Now that we've explored the power of working in silence, let's go deeper. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with this idea is the fear of being overlooked. We live in a time where everyone is chasing visibility, whether it's through likes, followers, or attention. But here's the thing, chasing attention doesn't build greatness. It's fleeting. Real, lasting success isn't found in quick validation, but in the quiet, consistent grind. Think about all the times you've seen someone rise to fame quickly. They become a trending topic, everyone's talking about them, but then just as quickly, they fade away. Why? Because their success was built on noise, not substance. They spent more time being seen than they did honing their craft. On the other hand, the people who work in silence, who commit to perfecting their craft behind the scenes, may take longer to be noticed, but when they do, they stay. There's a certain freedom in working quietly. You free yourself from the judgment and expectations of others. When you stop announcing your goals, no one's there to criticize your progress, and no one's there to rush you. You get to grow at your own pace, on your own terms. It's liberating. You stop comparing yourself to others and start comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. Now here's something that might surprise you. When you work in silence, you also protect yourself from negative energy. Not everyone will be happy to see you succeed. The more you talk about your plans, the more you open yourself up to doubt, criticism, and even sabotage. But when you keep your progress to yourself, you create a protective bubble around your dreams. You allow yourself to build without interference. And when the time comes to reveal your success, it's already too late for anyone to stop you. There's also another layer to this. Working quietly allows you to fail in private. Failure is a natural part of growth. It's how we learn, how we improve. But when you're constantly talking about your goals, every failure becomes public, and that can be discouraging. But when you work in silence, you give yourself the grace to fail, learn, and try again without the pressure of the public eye. So, here's my challenge for you today. Start something new, something big, and don't tell anyone. Just work on it. Day in and day out, chip away at it without feeling the need to announce it to the world. Let your progress be your secret, and when the time is right, let the results show who you really are. And remember, in the end, the most powerful voice you can have is the one that lets your actions speak. Silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the quiet force that drives you forward when everyone else is distracted by the noise. And as I promised, here's the motivation to carry with you. The quiet grind will give you the loudest success. So stop waiting for the right moment to show off and start creating the right moment with your work. Because in the end, the world won't remember what you said you were going to do. They'll remember what you actually did. And that, my friend, is the ultimate power of working hard in silence.